Chapter 36. Treadon Nelson. Treadon stared at the necklace gripped in his fist as he sat in the passenger seat of the Aston Martin. Jaren hadn't started the car yet. Treadon felt like he was an expanding balloon, stretched so thin he would pop. The security guards had physically ejected Jaren and Treadon from the building. Jake had stopped fighting, and Treadon's last view of him was the sagging form in the office chair. "What next?" Jaren asked. "I've seen this before. This shape, but it was moving, always moving." He let the necklace slip through his hand until the chain dangled from the tips of his fingers. "Where?" Jaren asked. "Claire's?" Treadon closed his eyes. "No, I've seen this almost every day since I was a little kid, in Gabe's office." "You think your stepdad took Ellie?" Jaren looked back and forth between the twisting necklace charm and Treadon's face. "He's not my stepdad." The response was immediate, automatic, but maybe it's time to ask for some answers. Home it is. Jaren pushed the start button and the car roared to life. They sped out of the parking lot. Jaren shifted gears as he took the on-ramp to the 405. The wind roared past the car and created a bubble of pressure around Treadon's ears. He could almost see the black SUVs pulling closer, forcing them faster. It was in his head. There were dozens of cars around them, driving like normal people on a normal day, but Treadon felt like his lungs had collapsed. He couldn't pull in air. He leaned forward and pressed his arms against his chest, crossed like he was preparing to be laid in a casket. "Calm down." Jaren slapped Treadon on the back, like he had a chicken bone caught in his throat. "Just breathe. Keep your hands on the wheel." Treadon managed to choke out. "I'm fine." "And I'm a college graduate with loving parents," Jaren said. "I've seen it before. It's a panic attack, and it can feel like you're dying. Just keep breathing. I'll get you home." Jaren changed lanes and sped up. That did nothing to help the increasing pressure on Treadon's chest, but his friend's hand on his back made it feel like there were two of them holding up the weight of an elephant. When they pulled into the garage at Treadon's house, they both sat for a moment while the garage door closed. Treadon took as deep of breaths as he could. He felt like he was breathing through a straw. "Give it time. You got this." Jaren sounded like he was prepping Treadon for a football play. "How would you know?" Treadon didn't mean to sound angry. It took a lot of force to get the words out. "I used to get them when I was younger, at night, when Rachel and her mom were gone. I remember thinking I was going to die alone in the dark from an invisible boa constrictor." Treadon could feel his heart rate coming back down. The pressure on his chest backed off, but the ache remained. Ellie was missing, and all he had was a journal and a necklace. His only lead was that Gabe had the same charm. He turned to his friend. "I'm sorry. I didn't know about the panic attacks." "It was a long time ago," Jaren said. "I had them for a few years after the brain surgery, and I couldn't go running to my dad, so I learned to talk myself through them. Learned that the sun always rose, no matter how long the night seemed to last." Treadon nodded, breathing as deep as the tension in his chest would allow, thinking of Jaren facing this pain alone, as a little kid. "I'm sorry, man. That sucks." "You suck. Are you good enough to face the music?" asked Conan the Barbarian what he does in his spare time. Treadon laughed in forced huffs of air. Conan wasn't from the 80s. There was a remake. No, there wasn't. "Don't judge me." Treadon nodded, not ready, but not willing to wait any longer. "Let's go." They got out of the car and entered the house through the garage door. Gabe was on his feet before they'd crossed the threshold. He and Abigail had been sitting close, heads nearly touching as they bent over a map. Abigail jumped up from the table and came across the room. She wrapped both arms around Treadon's shoulders and pressed her face against his shirt. Her eyes were swollen from rubbing. "What's going on? Are you okay?" Treadon asked her. "Where have you been? You skipped school. I didn't know where you were, and you didn't answer your phone." Treadon felt a stab of guilt. He hadn't thought to check his phone after they left the foster care office. He'd been too distracted, too sick. But his anger was able to make him push his guilt aside. "I was busy." He pushed past Abigail and marched down the hall, throwing open the door to Gabe's office. The perpetual motion device moved at its constant rate on its pedestal. 3 circles, 3 marbles, rotating around each other. "What is that, and where did you get it?" Gabe and Abigail had followed him halfway down the hall. Jaren flopped down, his head at the end of the couch that let him see down the hall. He gave Treadon an encouraging nod. "It's nothing," Abigail said. "A decoration. Why are you asking about this now?" Treadon could see the lie in his mom's face. Saw the hesitation in Gabe. "I need help finding someone that went missing, and she has something to do with this," Treadon said, jabbing his finger in the direction of Gabe's ornament. I need to know where this comes from." "Who's missing?" Gabe asked. "A girl from school. She didn't come today, and she's never missed before. And when I went to her house, it was abandoned. I'm worried about her, and I thought, since you said you help people, that you could help her." Gabe's face didn't show any emotion, but the way his muscles tensed, his fingers flexed, made him look like he'd been caught in a trap, like he felt any way he answered this question would get him in trouble. He and Abigail shared a look, and Treadon read an apology that didn't make sense, that made him angry before they had even answered. "What could be more important than someone who has gone missing?" Treadon asked. "What else is going on that you're not telling me, that you're keeping from me?" Treadon saw all those things, their distraction by something bigger, their secret that had always been there, but he'd chosen to ignore. He wasn't going to take this anymore. Not if it affected Ellie, not if there was a chance he could do something. Jaren lifted a magazine from the coffee table, acting like this was a normal family discussion, and he was just a fly on the wall, but his posture said he was listening to every word. "What are you talking about?" Abigail stepped back, but a shadow of guilt crossed her face. "Why would you say something like that?" "Because I can see it," Treadon said, exhaustion pulling his arms to his side. "I can see it in the way you look at each other, and the way you talk to me, and the way your eyes never land where they're supposed to. Something is going on, and if you are going to use it as an excuse to not help me, I want to know what it is. I deserve to know." "We never said we wouldn't help," Abigail said. "But you were thinking it." "Abigail." Gabe kept his voice low but firm. "I think he's right. And you know we are out of time. The best way to protect him is with understanding. He needs to know." Abigail sagged, gripping Treadon's arm for a minute with an intensity that could stop the turn of the earth. Then she nodded. "You start." Gabe turned to Treadon, straightening his shoulders like he was trying to impress the jury at his own trial. "I am not who you think I am. 60 years ago, I was chosen by a woman to be her guardian. She was not an average human. She was descended from powerful beings, 3 beings that were called angels. With the commitment I made to protect her, I was given abilities, strength, knowledge, that allowed me to live longer, heal faster. The amulet on the desk is a symbol of what I am." There was silence for a moment that should have been filled with doubt and disbelief. But there was too much, too many things that clicked into place. Treadon could see the truth in Gabe's statement, could see the relief flow through him as he released a secret he had been holding for too long. Treadon felt the amulet in his pocket and thought of Ellie's fear. She was being hunted, and Gabe had been hunting people like her. Had Ellie been hiding from Gabe? Or someone like Gabe? "I knew you couldn't get those arms without steroids." Jaren waved his hand in the air when everyone turned and looked at him. "Or something supernatural. Just so everyone knows, I was right about that. Where is your descendant now?" Treadon glanced at his mom. Could she be a descendant this whole time without him knowing? Abigail saw his look and shook her head. "Not me. We met later. After I'd lost my descendant. She disappeared almost 20 years ago, and I've spent those years searching, not just for her, but for other descendants who are too young to have chosen a guardian. We call them Unguarded, and they're being hunted. Abigail and I have been trying to save them before they get taken." "Let me get this straight," Treadon said. "You're not normal. I guess I always knew that. And you are." He pointed at Abigail. "You aren't part of this world, and Gabe still stays here and acts like one of us." "Why?" Abigail answered. "I'm an ordinary, but I can see the light that every living thing on earth puts off. I can see when an unguarded inherits their knowledge, when they're ready to be trained. I've helped Gabe with his search all these years. It felt like the right thing to do." "And you never told me because?" "It's dangerous." Abigail took a step closer. "There was always a chance that they would try and stop me, that they would try to stop Gabe, and if that happened, if I led them here, to you, and anything happened to you, it would be my fault." "Who would try to stop you?" Jaren asked. His eyes were wide. His fists gripped the corner of the couch. "The Triune," Gabe said. "The demons who are trying to eradicate the Descendants of Angels from the earth." Jaren swallowed. "The Triune? Angels and demons? You know this is all really wild. Totally far-fetched." He said the words, but Treadon could see that his friend had clung to this reality because of his dad. Treadon believed in angels. He'd told Ellie he did. He believed who Ellie was. But this? The idea that his own mother had been involved and never told him was harder to swallow than the fact that Ellie could heal broken bones. "If there are demons and angels," Jaren asked, studying his nails like he was debating whether to get a manicure or not, "does that mean sometimes a demon could take over someone, change them?" "Yes," Gabe answered. "We call them possessed." "Creative. Someone dug deep for that one." Jaren pushed up off the couch and stretched like he didn't care, like he was slightly bored. But every muscle was tensed, telling Treadon the opposite. "What do you do for someone that's possessed?" "There is nothing to do," Gabe said. "Possession is a contracted choice. Although coerced sometimes, once an ordinary agrees to a possession, it cannot be undone. They're as good as dead, worse than dead. There is a special prison where we hold them until the physical body gives out and the demon essence is forced to leave." "You mean until they die?" Jaren asked. "You can't help the person, even if they were forced or threatened?" "Possession is an agreement, a contractual binding," Gabe said. "The soul agreed to the exchange. Even when it is coerced, it would require the demon essence to be destroyed, and we haven't had the power to do that since the twin daggers were lost." "How do you protect people then? What good are you if you can't save people after they're possessed?" Jaren asked. "We bring light and hope to mankind, so that they have their own willpower to resist." "You're failing." Jaren threw a pillow from the couch. Gabe caught it. "There's so much darkness that 1,000 angels couldn't hold it back, let alone a pathetic guardian." He was breathing hard, fists clenched, jaw muscles flexed. Treadon felt a shifting beneath his feet, like he was losing his balance. A wave of dizziness washed over him. Jaren believed that his dad was possessed. It would explain a lot of things, but Jaren wasn't about to tell Gabe so he could drag him away to a prison to die, and Treadon wasn't about to betray his friend. Jaren closed his eyes, like he was physically pushing something down inside of him. He let out a fake laugh. "Do you know what this is? You're all one toy short of a Happy Meal. I got a few errands to run, and I'm going to let you work out this family drama in privacy." He picked up his phone that he'd set on the coffee table and came around the couch to pat Gabe on his large deltoids. "Still, I'd like to know your real secret behind these babies." Gabe gave a deadpan stare. Jaren just smiled bigger. Treadon was amazed that his friend could cover his fear so completely and turn it into a joke. Face down a coiled rattlesnake by patting it on the head before Gabe could respond. Jaren left in a cloud of festering silence. Treadon wrestled with his promise and the need to break it. Ellie had been hiding, and Abigail had admitted she could see them. If Abigail and Gabe were the very people Ellie had been hiding from, this could be pure betrayal. "I believe you," Treadon said. "I know that the Descendants of Angels exist. I've met one." "What?" Abigail asked. "The girl I need you to help me find. She's a descendant, and now she's missing." "What do you mean, she's missing?" Gabe asked. "I went to her house and it was empty, like they'd never lived there. I went to the foster care office and they said they didn't have any record of her. I was with her last Wednesday, and now she's gone." Gabe and Abigail shared another look. This one was different, but said the same thing. Instead of communicating that they wouldn't help him, now they both believed they couldn't help him. "Stop doing that," Treadon said. "Just tell me what's going on. Why can't you help me? We're not sure how you met a descendant, how you know about her, but I rescue Unguarded before they go missing, not after." "I don't understand." He had a sinking feeling that he did. "Tell me where she lived," Gabe said. "I'll go check it out. But Treadon, you have to understand. We've never recovered an Unguarded after they've been taken. Once they are gone, it's a complete loss." The news hit Treadon in the gut, and he had to run to the bathroom as his body tried to empty his stomach, as hollow as his heart.